Coming up on Tekzilla, the RipMonster 3000. Can my machine securely rip 100 CDs an hour? Intel Developer Forum, Lloyd Case has the word on the next-gen CPU. Stop the madness! Ron is going to help you manage your passwords like a pro. Enterprise Antivirus, you brought us the goods and a happy little dog pile of your tech questions. So sprinkle a little powdered sugar on the beignets and grab your chicory coffee, because Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by The Ben Heck Show, a new show dedicated to building, modding, and electronics culture with Ben Heck and friends, brought to you by Element 14. Netflix. Go to netflix.com/Tekzilla for your free trial membership. And Gamefly. Check out gamefly.com/Tekzilla to get a free trial account. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or the best sushi in Seattle, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down someone who does, like Roger, who spent last week eating sushi and mocking us from a distance.
I didn't think he was ever going to come back.
I'm surprised he did. This is like his first vacation in 2 years.
Hey, Roger says he's surprised he did.
Wow.
Thanks, Raj.
I just want to say, if everyone will please join us, email roger@revision3.com and say, congratulations on taking a vacation.
Woohoo!
It's good for you, Roger. IDF, the Intel Developer Forum, is the big news this week. We got Lloyd Case checking in later to talk about the shiny new processors and GPU substitutes and pretty much everything else going on at IDF. I will, though, say here that I agree with Intel's CEO Paul Otellini when he says, quote, no one device will win the battle between PCs, phones, cars. Well, no one device will win is essentially what he says, right?
It would be kind of difficult for one device to win the car-phone category.
Well, yeah, it's like car phone. He's basically like saying like
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like iPhones aren't going to win. Android devices aren't. Well, Android devices could maybe win because they work on so many platforms. Or maybe iPhone devices. But it's like the idea that there's still going to be PCs and computers in your cars and computers in your HDTV and computers in your Blu-ray and computers up your butt and wherever else they want to put a computer because computers are everywhere. Yeah, I said butt.
Up my butt.
I said butt. Not your butt.
Speaking of other things, moving on to totally different topics. Set-top boxes. Boxy opened up pre-orders this week for the Boxy Box by D-Link. It's $199.95 from Amazon in the US with Australia and Europe to follow. Boxy also revealed that the box will be running Intel's CE4100 system on a chip, codenamed Sodaville. Apparently they just couldn't get NVIDIA's Tegra 2 to deliver the kind of H.264 HD video playback quality they wanted for the media streamer. And yes, it will ship with the nifty two-sided remote with a built-in keyboard that we saw back at CES. And also, if you order on Amazon, you will get your Boxy Box before anyone else. Ooh. So get it there if you want it fast.
Hopefully it runs better than my Pop Box. Which
I think it will. I have high hopes for the Boxy Box.
I think by the end of this year, I will have 9 different media streaming boxes. From my original Apple TV, the second Apple TV, 2 Roku boxes, the Pop Box. Well, I do because of the testing for HD Nation. But
that's where one place I wouldn't mind just one box to rule them all.
And in the
That's
darkness.
what she said.
Google Instant shipped last week. The whole Google tries to finish your search phrase faster than you can type it thing, which basically emulates some performance things they did on Bing a while back. It includes an adult content filter, so if you're looking for expletives or stuff like Picasso's nude leaves and bust or naked juice or pictures of the celebrity in the buff that you love so much, you ain't getting no instant help because nude is naughty, and so are naughty words, and so are naughty things, and nudity in general, and naked. It's kind of funny though, more serious stuff that has been caught, especially in library filters in the past, like breast cancer and sexually transmitted diseases search terms make it through and you get instant search suggestions, so I think it's pretty cool.
You know what's funny that doesn't work?
What?
God.
Really?
Yeah, you can search for God and it brings up GoDaddy.
I'm not even going to address that one.
That is not part of our sponsorship. You have to actually hit the enter button, hit the search button to search for God on the internet.
But revision3.com/GoDaddy is a great place to find all of your GoDaddy discounts, including some from Tekzilla. Oh, by the way, stop worrying about your naughty searches disappearing. They're still there. They're just not instant.
Right.
Search Engine Land basically did this really amusing read on how weird search filtering is. We get a link to the article in the show notes. It was really, it's so odd what they choose to filter and why they choose to filter and the justification. It's just...
Sometimes I think they don't even realize they're filtering something. Like it may just have been marked a lot of times as something that's, you know, not safe for work.
Well, I guess that Picasso painting I mentioned sold for like $106 or $160 million recently, but because it has nude next to Picasso, it blocks the instant
just
aspect
automatically picks up these things
I mean,
and
it'll
works
still,
it into the search results.
Yeah, 0.4 of a second later, you'll still get 42 million results. But anyhow, by the way, before any emails about the Ninth Circuit Court's decision about the whole EULA in the box trumps any ownership you think you might hold over software. Basically, like if they print words, they're mightier than you owning the CD. Let's just say I'm curious to see if this gets fought to the Supreme Court, or if the RIAA and the MPAA, through the record companies and the video companies, start telling you that you're leasing the contents of that CD or Blu-ray so that you are forbidden to ever sell it. Yeah, even the Library of Congress is like, this could really screw up libraries' ability to lend things.
I know.
But the Ninth Circuit Court basically has to rule on existing law and standards, and it's probably going to get fought up the hill. It'll be interesting to see if that happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so in honor of September 19th, Talk Like a Pirate Day, we had to go with Logan's video question.
Veronica, Patrick, a query. How can I synchronize the home directories of my 3 computers, OS X, Windows 7, and Ubuntu Linux, preferably over my own home network, but over the internet will work just as well. Thank you very much, laddies.
So how do you sync the home directories across OS X, Windows 7, and Ubuntu Linux? Are you thinking Dropbox? It doesn't work. You think Dropbox, Patrick? What do you want?
Sorry, I have this vision of you as a certain pirate from a certain Disney movie going, obviously you've never been to Tortuga. Anyhow, it's a great moment of Pirates of the Caribbean. Look, it's not exactly the home directly, but I'm in love with Dropbox. I use it on every machine I own. It's a tool to sync files across Windows, Mac, and Linux machines. Solves your problem, solves file format compatibility, as long as you have an application to run the file. It's got clients for Android, iPhone, a BlackBerry client is on the way, and it's painless. You download and you install Dropbox, you create an account, you set up your Dropbox folder, and every time you're online Dropbox, well, basically you drag something in, you take something out, you modify something that's saved inside the Dropbox. Dropbox synchronizes the contents across your machines instantly or the next time you connect it to the internet.
It is the best.
Yeah.
I use it every day.
It is sweet.
I'm starting to come up to my, I think I have 2.5 gigs from doing referrals and stuff. I'm starting to hit my limit. So I need to clear out the Dropbox a little bit or maybe buy some more space.
Well, they do. Here's the thing, right? You can access it from any machine with a web browser. So if you're traveling, it lets you access your files. It's like Time Machine in that it keeps a history of every change you make to your files, and it can undelete files. Which brings us to the cost.
Yes, and as I mentioned, it's free, at least for the first 2 gigabytes of online storage, that is. You can get up to 10 gigabytes if you refer a bunch of friends, or you can spend $9.99 a month, or $99 a year for 50 gigabytes, or $19.99 a month, $199 a year for 100 gigabytes. You can use it for public sharing, and if you spend some quality time on Lifehacker or in the Dropbox forums, you can find some really awesome hacks, like how to set it up as your docs folder in Windows, like you were asking, and you can keep it to start torrents remotely, keep passwords and browser profiles synced, sync iTunes across multiple computers. You know, just do a Google search of Dropbox hacks and you'll find tons of good stuff to use all the time.
Yeah, I can think of some roll your own variations you could do that would keep this inside your home network, but seriously, beyond Dropbox not having a 1 terabyte plan for like $8 a month, just saying, guys and gals, if you're listening.
That's pretty aspirational.
It's aspirational, yes. Yeah. I would like to see a 1 terabyte plan, even if I couldn't afford it, but
he just wants to see it. He just wants to look at it.
Well, if you think about, I mean, it would just be, yeah, it's painless, it's easy, and it's fairly cheap for pretty secure storage.
Maybe if more people start buying the extended plans, they'll be able to pay for the extra server storage for a terabyte drive.
Quick, everyone, join me in getting the 100 gigabyte plan in the hopes that we will someday be rewarded with a terabyte.
Woo!
I need to get a life. Thinking about buying a PC, you might want to wait until you've got Lloyd's report from the Intel Developer Forum. That's coming up next. But while we got your attention, we want to thank one of our sponsors, The Ben Heck Show. It's a new show here at Revision 3 brought to you by Element 14. Join zany electronics hobbyist extraordinaire Ben Heck and his friends as they build and modify a host of amazing community-inspired creations. Tune into The Ben Heck Show every other Monday night right here on Revision 3. The Ben Heck Show, by the way, brought to you exclusively by Element 14, the online store and community for electronics design engineers. A lot of good stuff there, people. Check out element14.com to see it all. Back with Lloyd Case, obviously not in the studio. We're at Intel's Developer Forum here at Moscone West, San Francisco, California, 2010, in case you're watching this much later in the year. Why are we here? Well, to hear what Intel has planned for the industry. IDF is like where Intel tries to sort of push the and I should say
their ecosystem, as they call it.
Their ecosystem, right? Because originally it was like, oh, we want you to all have Intel branded Wi-Fi, and we want you to do this, we want you to do that. But now it's like phones and televisions and Blu-ray 3D.
And they've focused on processors mostly, right? So now instead of Intel selling their own networking gear, they sell processors to Cisco to put in their networking gear.
I like it. They get farther back in the food chain.
Right.
Revenues are more consistent. What was the big announcement?
The big announcement is Sandy Bridge, which is their new mainstream processor. It's 32 nanometer. It's going to be the first Intel CPU with on-die graphics. It'll have graphics embedded. It's kind of a cool architecture because they treat this graphics for the first time as an equal to the CPU cores. It's actually behind the L3 cache and all that jazz.
Does it mean it'd be graphics that don't suck on the die?
The 3D graphics won't completely suck. It's still not DX11.
Got it.
It's still going to be like, you'll be able to play, StarCraft 2 at 12:7 with reasonable performance. The important thing is they've had a lot of hardware media decoding capability.
Really?
Right? Yeah, so it does all the HD codecs in a fixed function hardware decoder, and it's two of them, right? So you can do 2 streams, which means 3D Blu-ray and that kind of stuff.
I like that thought, and probably with minimal power consumption. This sounds like a notebook part, not a desktop part.
It is both, but the focus I think is on mobile because when they're talking about the graphics in particular, they're talking about 17 and 25 watt parts, which of course are laptop type processors.
I like that thought.
But it's going to be the first 32 nanometer quad core part for mainstream desktops too.
It's getting faster and it's consuming less energy.
The downside, there's always a downside. The downside is it requires a new socket, so new motherboards.
Oh boy.
So some other downsides. There's only 16 PCI Express lanes for external graphics.
Okay.
Which means if you want to do SLI, you only get 2x8, not 2x16.
Which kind of defeats the purpose of SLI, doesn't it?
But at least it's true Gen 2, so it might be fine.
Okay.
And then it only has a dual channel memory controller, so 2 channels of DDR3 memory.
So it sounds like a high-end notebook part, inexpensive desktop part, good home theater part probably.
Right.
What's going on? You mentioned actually they had some 3D Blu-ray stuff and a really interesting gaming session around solid-state drives.
Right. So they talk about how to build a 3D Blu-ray system going forward. Some things you need to know. Like for example, I didn't realize that the Blu-ray disk drive itself had to be 2x, whereas the old 2D ones were 1.5x, right? Little things like that. But they have the whole pipeline now filled for both the Sandy Bridge graphics will drive Blu-ray because it has the 2 decoders, and their little consumer part, what they call the Atom CE4100, which goes into TV sets and things like that, can do it as well.
I like it. It's amazing to actually watch your television get more. Mike, the television is now, the ACTVs are getting more powerful than computers 5 years ago.
Right. One other quick thing before we move on to the SSD thing is Boxy. I talked to the Boxy guys. You're a fan of Boxy, right?
Boxy walked away from Tegra by NVIDIA because they couldn't get H.264 decoding.
That's right. So they're on Atom. Cost them 6 months, but they're taking pre-orders now finally. Yeah,
$200. We actually were talking about that in the news. $200. We're looking forward to seeing it, and we've already getting email from people like, "Why is it twice as expensive as an Apple TV?" And I'm like, "Oh,
it's
boy.
better. That's why." Oh, sorry, I said that. Oh.
It's okay. Not a big fan of the Apple TV box right now. Solid-state drives, Intel a big player, gaming.
Right. Yeah, well, that was really interesting because you think of gaming, you think, okay, so it can load levels faster, right? You can load the game faster. I get started playing my game, that's nice. But actually, they were showing some actual hard data that they collected on hard drive traces from a variety of different games where you see a lot less stuttering in game, right? So your character is running along, and all of a sudden it pitches, right?
Right.
And what it is the game is trying to predict where you're going to go and will preload stuff. But if it makes a wrong guess as to where you're going to go, it has to load more stuff off the hard drive, and that takes a little hitch if it's a rotating hard drive.
Which completely, because I've been running at this point with the assumption that all video games, they load everything into main system memory, and drive performance is only going to impact loading levels.
Right. And the problem is that you can't test that by average frame rates, because the average frame rate may be the same. It's just sort of a little experiential thing. You're running along, all of a sudden you hesitate.
Maybe the same frame 3 times in a row.
Well, they're showing this neat thing from Assassin's Creed where you're running from point to point, you get into various combats, and actually the time taken from running from place to place takes less because you're waiting less for the stuff to load.
Wow, that's pretty serious. So it sounds like SSDs are not just for, SSDs actually do improve gaming performance.
Right.
Now, AMD was here also?
Right. They were showing off their Fusion parts, which is their entry-level part with CPU with integrated graphics on the die, the X11, all that jazz. They're not shipping until early next year, though.
You're going to be covering IDF for any of the magazines?
Yep, I'm covering for Maximum PC and Tom's Hardware.
ImprobableInsights.com is Lloyd Case's regular webpage. You can find all Lloyd Case all the time there. We got to go back to the studio. Lloyd, awesome information as always.
Talk to you later.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Can Patrick really rip and encode 100 CDs an hour into flawless, lossless audio files? The RipMonster 3000 is coming up next. But first, let's take a minute to thank one of our sponsors, Netflix. Netflix delivers movies directly to your home, saving you time, money, and hassle. As a Netflix Unlimited member, you get DVDs by mail in about 1 business day. Plus, you can instantly watch thousands of TV episodes and movies streaming directly to your PC, Mac, or right to your TV via Netflix-ready device like an Xbox 360, PS3, and the Nintendo Wii console. Watch as many movies as you want. Get unlimited movies 2 ways for only $8.99 a month. Shipping is always free, and there are no late fees or due dates. Keep the movies as long as you like. As a new member and a Tekzilla viewer, you can get a free trial membership. Go to www.netflix.com/Tekzilla and sign up now. Be sure to use this URL so they know we sent you. Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, Prezi. If you're looking for a simple way to create presentations, look no further than Prezi. Far easier to use than Keynote or PowerPoint, Prezi is an online application that gives you the tools and flexibility to create multimedia presentations within minutes. Once you're signed up, you're presented with your blank page. The interface on this site is really intuitive, and all you need to do is click your canvas to begin writing. The striped zebra tool pops up when you click on a text box, and you can use it to move, change the size, or rotate your text depending on where in the zebra you drag your cursor. Images can be added using the Insert tool, and video from YouTube can also be inserted within the text field, just by copying over the URL. What's really cool is that the transformation zebra works the same way for other media that you place on your canvas. Zoom it, rotate it, or move it anywhere. Finally, you can connect the dots using the Path tool. This creates a timeline for your presentation, so all your ideas flow together in the right order. Select Show and watch it all come together. Once you're done, you can save, share, or even collaborate online with your presentation with the brand new Meeting tool. All of this is available under the free license, but you can get some pretty nice perks in the Enjoy and Pro licenses. Check out the site and see which is right for you, and never struggle with those bulky presentation programs again.
And we're back, and I'm here because this has something to do with a lot of CD ripping and a monster, I understand.
The RipMonster 3000. A lot of people have been asking for a system-style episode. Let's get busy with ripping CDs. Not just ripping CDs, but ripping a lot of CDs fast and doing secure ripping, which means we get all of the information that is supposed to be coming off the disk into our ripped files.
So basically, a lot of disks, bit for bit, copies of those CDs regardless of how scratched up they are.
Well, if a disk is too scratched up, you may not be able to get all the information off of it. So let's talk about, normally you're thinking like, I'm going to use like, I got Apple, so I'll use Apple because like I've got Apple and I've got iTunes, so I'll use iTunes. The thing is, iTunes, actually, it's been a while since I checked, but last time I checked iTunes, a lot of ripping programs, what they do is if they get to something they can't read, either put a little bit of silence or, because like your CD player, right? Your CD player in your car doesn't just stop playing because there's a damage on the disk. It either, if it's really bad, it'll pop. If it's less bad, it might actually sort of interpret a little silence over it. And I know I'm glossing this over a little bit, but we only have about 6 minutes to talk. But the idea with a secure ripper is it's going to give you the most exact audio copy, I use that phrase for a reason, that you can get off of the CD. EAC, open source program, super popular for a lot of reasons.
I use it.
Yeah, well, it's free.
It's free, it works, and the little CDDB thingy that comes with it works pretty well.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is EAC, like a lot of other programs, only allows you to burn or rip one disk at once. And what's interesting about DB Power Amp, Alex Spoon, the guy that writes it, has done a lot for basically making codecs available and information available to people. With DB Power Amp, you spend $36 for the reference version, the paid version, you get something called the DB Power Amp Batch Ripper. And when you set the DB Power Amp Batch Ripper, I thought it maxed out at 7 drives simultaneously. And I have no idea how many it can actually run at this point, because I thought it maxed out at 6. But if I take a look at this, I have 7 drives configured.
Yeah, if we look at the front of the case, you'll notice that how many bays are filled?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drives filled. And then just to see if we can do it, we added a 7th one, this external Blu-ray player, USB player. I started out with my old system. my gaming system at home, which was in a, what do you call that thing?
A Blackbird case?
Blackbird case, which only had like 2 drive slots. I had a couple SATA DVD drives, so I had those hanging out the side of the case, and then I threw this on top. So I had 5 running simultaneously, plus an IDE drive, that slot drive on it. The IDE drive was really slow. It was running like 4x when the other drives were ripping like 20 or 30x. Obviously, I had stuff falling out the side of the case, which I don't like, and I wanted to see how many SATA drives I could get in one case and still ripping. So I basically have every SATA port I can use on this system, either for drives or for the optical drives. So I have 6 drives, 6 SATA drives, 7th drive here, and the goal was to hit 100 CDs an hour. And we keep getting interrupted, so we can't get a full hour of ripping to find out what it is. But we're doing like 25, 40x rips with the encode to Apple lossless simultaneously across 7 drives, which if you have like 800 CDs, 1,000 CDs like I do, means you can get through your collection a lot faster.
And have you noticed any pitfalls besides having to constantly feed this reverse Pez machine?
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, we make jokes about giving horrible jobs to interns. This would be a great horrible job for interns. What's been interesting, though, is if you take a look at the DBA Power Amp batch ripper up here, so we've stopped down like 3 or 4 times, but like, you know, it gives you what number of the disk it's ripping, the speed, combined speed. If you get like all 7 drives going at once, you get like a combined speed of like 100, 150 X. Yeah, and then it gives you a total of the amount of time you've been ripping. And then down here, things get really interesting. So you drive a disk in, it gives you the classic sort of CDDB style database information, though this isn't from that particular source. And then it does something called, it'll do what they call an accurate rip lookup. So you rip your disk, and when you're done ripping your disk, you get that thing over on the side, and if they're all ripped accurately, you basically, you put in a known disk, it corrects the offset and makes sure the head basically makes up the difference for the head looking at the wrong point on the disk, because there's offset problems with different heads from different manufacturers or different times. And then you can look in and it'll tell you whether or not you actually have an accurate rip based on the database, the accurate rip database online. So if we go down here, these are like the last batch of disks I've been working on. If I go into notes, it'll tell me the confidence, like the number of people who have ripped this disk and put the data into accurate rip, and it tells me if the rip is accurate or not. If it's not accurate, which you can see a few of these over here, like one track there is not too unusual, but there's some disks I've gotten here where there's like, yeah, 14 accurate, 14 inaccurate, so half the tracks on this are inaccurate.
Does that mean you have to re-rip it, or?
Well, you can try re-ripping it in another drive, which usually doesn't help the situation. If there's scratches on the drive, you can try to clean the scratches up, get your Brasso out.
Could you potentially lower the read speed?
That's not really helping, because when you set this up to rip securely, it's automatically going to go as slow as it has to rip the information. What that often means is no matter how slow it tries, it still can't actually pull the information off the disk. It could be, you know, a scratch on the disk. I've actually had all of the tracks inaccurate on a disk that was brand new, just taken out of the shrink wrap, and it turned out that there were manufacturing defects in the disk. That were kind of glossed over by lesser tools than Exact Audio Copy.
But overall, you're very happy with the results you've received so far with this setup.
Well, yeah. Once the RipMonster required a new case, 3 more drives that I didn't own, and.
But I mean, realistically, it's actually not that expensive. I mean, getting a new DVD drive is what, 50, 60 bucks?
Well, what's funny about this? Yeah, no, actually, they sell for like $20 now.
$20. So $20, you get, you know, say you have 2 optical, or you have 1 optical.
Well, if you have some friends that also have big collections, you can get together. The smart thing to do, right, would be to do one of those external duplicator stations. They hold 5 drives. They have all the power for the SATA drives. They have an eSATA connection. Then you have one box with all these ridiculous drives inside of it, instead of making your machine super big to fit all the drives inside the case. That would be a really good way to do it. Or in this case, the Core i7 I have on here, even with everything running simultaneously, we're actually running at like 30% right now as those 2 launch up, and I've been seeing it average about 20, 25% in the last minute or 2. So hey, Learn something new every day. You get 7 drives going, and you use more system resources. What I'll probably do is find an older Core a Core Duo system or an older system, and pull this motherboard and my good motherboard and my good graphics card out of here, put some slower parts in here, and then whoever wants to borrow this for ripping can borrow it to rip their collection.
Bottom line.
Bottom line, I really like EAC. If you want to get the most accurate rips possible, you don't want to spend any money. Exact Audio Copy, EAC, it's online, it's free, download it. If you're willing to spend some money and put some extra hard drives, optical drives, DVD drives in your system, DB Power Amp, Batch Ripper, buy the reference version. The Batch Ripper comes with it for free. Well, it's free for the Batch Ripper if you spend $36 for DB Power Amp's reference version. And by next week I'll have an exact number. I'm hoping I'm ripping over 100 CDs an hour. Although at this point, with 7 drives going simultaneously, it's almost ripping the discs too fast for me to keep feeding the discs into the machine.
Well, let's see how many more you can rip before Veronica makes her way back to the set. So,
coming up next, man, it's that giant mess of passwords. The Tekzilla crew talks antivirus for the big girls and a thought on ye olde iTunes error. But first, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Gamefly.com. It is the largest online video game rental service. Offers you a choice from over 7,000 new and classic titles and across all consoles and handhelds. What are we talking about? Lots of games. And for a mere $15.95 a month, you, if you're a Gamefly member, can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them for as long as you like. No late fees, no due dates. Shipping is always free. You're done playing a game, you send it back. Gamefly sends you the next available game on your list. It's simple. And if you really like the game you're playing, no problem. Click Keep It on the Gamefly website. The game is yours at a discounted price. Gamefly is even going to mail you the case and manuals free of charge, so you can keep getting the other rental games, so you can keep trying out new games, even though you get a game you like that you're in love with. Even better, Tekzilla fans can score a 15-day free trial, but only if they go to Gamefly.com/Tekzilla. Please support Tekzilla by supporting our sponsors like Gamefly.com/Tekzilla. Check it out, people. It's worth your time.
Our next question comes from Michael, who wants to, well, you know what? I think we can let Michael speak for himself.
A stupid question for Tekzilla. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Veronica. Stupid question, but when you're online, how do you manage passwords? Not like this, I hope. Please tell us what you use. And more importantly, please show us dunces how it works.
That was a cool question. Let's see. I use Keychain and I use Google Chrome just for saving my browser passwords. I'm not using 1Password, which I've heard very, very good things about. It can sync your passwords over your Mac, your iPad, your iPhone, and they just started a Windows beta as well. So that's pretty cool. So if you like the 1Password thing, you can use it on Windows. I think you can sign up now. KeyPass is one that we've talked about a lot of times for Windows. It's definitely a popular choice. What do you use at home?
You know, I use a giant text document.
Get the... What?
Yeah.
I almost swore at him.
Yes, you did. And you know what? You're absolutely right.
You, of all people, use a text document?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
It's just a long-standing tradition.
Worst tradition ever?
No, actually not.
Roger just said he does that too. What the hell is wrong with you people?
We're old, and no, actually, you know, the truth is at one point I had like somewhere over 150 passwords, and I'm good for about 30 or 40 that I can remember. And it was just literally never sat down and typed them all into an application.
The one thing I'm annoyed with 1Password, and the reason I haven't picked it up, is because you can't export your passwords from like Keychain. Something I can understand that if you don't, it's like a security risk, being able to export passwords into another program probably.
Until you realize that you have to re-enter those passwords.
You'd have to do your password anyway, so it just seems kind of annoying. If they added that feature, I would be all over that like butter on bread.
Like butter on bread.
Yes.
Like pigeons on breadcrumbs.
I almost got pooped on by a pigeon today. It was like inches.
Inches.
Like really, really close.
This much. And even more importantly, missed your new iPad.
Yes.
She's so excited.
La la. La la. Moving on. All right. We got a huge response about the various enterprise antivirus out there on the market. Here's a small sampling of the email we received. Jason writes, I've worked in IT for the past 15+ years and can say through experience that both Sophos and Panda Security offer some of the best enterprise-level AV solutions on the market. Norton, McAfee, CA's eTrust, to name a few, just don't cut it. Lee the consultant emailed, I'm not a corporate IT guy, but I do work as an IT consultant for IBM. We're the largest IT company on the planet by employee count, with well over 400,000 folks worldwide. All of our Windows-based laptops get preloaded with Symantec Antivirus version 10 before they get issued to employees. Mac users in our company, a much smaller group, are also required to run AV software, but they have to install the OS X version of the Symantec software themselves. Just chiming in with info from a big business.
A very big business.
The largest business, employee count-wise.
No, Foxconn.
He just said it was.
Maybe in the U.S., but Foxconn's like 800,000. Well, hey, John followed up with, we use Sophos for about 5,000 users, and Aaron wrote, I manage the end-user computers at a small college with 600-700 endpoint devices. We utilize Microsoft Forefront Client Security for our Windows machines. They have an entire enterprise protection solution under the Forefront name. Check it out at microsoft.com/forefront/en/un, actually us/default.aspx. You might want to get a better URL for that, Microsoft. The Microsoft Security Essentials is built upon the same scanning engine that FCS utilizes. With FCS and Windows 7, we have not seen a single computer infection. And unlike some other vendors, this solution is fairly lightweight. Oh yes, I pretty much can think of what vendor he's not naming there back in the day. Finally, Jay has fond experiences with Symantec. Quote, in regards to the question about antivirus, my company of almost 3,600 users uses Symantec. While it may not be the cheapest solution, it seems to work pretty good for us. The remote management console seems to be the worst part of it, although you can perform remote upgrades via the console, which runs on a web page, which makes managing systems super easy. The local client seems to have some issues on some select systems, mainly slower ones, but on most systems it works.
Well, thanks to everyone that wrote in. It's great to hear everybody's real-world experiences, which may or may not mirror our own.
And since you and I have never managed more than probably 10 or 15 machines at a pop.
I've never managed anyone's machines except my own.
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
at one point I was running like 13 machines.
Yeah, well, that's 13 more than I've ever done.
Really?
What do I do? I have like my own PCs and my own, I guess maybe if you count all my laptops and computers, they're not necessarily networked at the same time, but that would be like 350. No, just kidding.
Wow.
JK. All right, now last show we were trying to help Jerry correct his iTunes permission problem, and here are some of your suggestions for Jerry. Carter says, I felt like I had to follow up on this iTunes error because I actually work at the Geek Squad and have had the pleasure of working with many iTunes errors before.
You have our sympathy.
Yes. First things first, I noticed while Veronica was right-clicking a file that Jerry had Node 32 for antivirus installed, and this could be the start of the issue. There's also some talk that indexing could cause this error as well. You can type indexing into the Start menu and choose indexing options. From here, click on Modify and then expand the local disk, Users, Jerry Garza, My Music, and then make sure that iTunes is not selected, then click OK, and then close. Now, when you were viewing computer management on Jerry's computer, he had another user named Random that you attempted to delete, but was unsuccessful. This is because it was actually the hidden administrator account found in all versions of Windows. This is disabled by default and hidden from low-level viewers, and is used when a user account becomes corrupted by malware and whatnot. You cannot delete this account because it is part of Windows and used to make changes to those corrupted account privileges. So I think we did see that Random account. Isn't that the one we tried to delete?
I think so.
I thought that was the one we tried to delete, but apparently you can't delete that in Windows 7.
Wow.
Well, good to know. And Alexander followed up
with,
regarding deleting the existing built-in administrator account, apparently you can't do that in Windows 7. Aha! That's what I just said. The iTunes permissions problem may just be on a single file, a set of files, or even be due to file system corruption. Some people have mentioned in online forums that file locking issues involving antivirus or indexing programs have caused this error. Perhaps you could try Nearsoft's Open Files view to see which files were being opened or locked by what program when the errors occurred, or the handy old Process Monitor from sysinternals to see more details on what files iTunes is having problems opening. Were there any more details in the system or application logs? Resetting his user permissions recursively might also do the trick. Failing all else, there's always a good old check disk/R.
Not the check disk/R. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, big props to Carter and Alexander for the suggestions, and everybody else who wrote in. This is what makes Tekzilla awesome. Tekzilla viewers helping out other viewers, educating us in the process. We thank you for making us smarter.
You know who's awesome? Callie Lewis is awesome. And 3 times a week, she's keeping all of us in the know with the world of gadgets, tech, and all things geek. You can't miss Geek Beat TV every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at revision3.com/geekbeattv.
For everybody out there watching, we love on your questions, so please email us, Tekzilla at revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos, chicory coffee recipes. You ask us, we'll do it, but we need those emails, so don't be shy. Send them in to Tekzilla at revision3.com.
Even better, send us in a video question.
We had 2 in this show.
I know, we're doing awesome. You guys rock. Think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload to YouTube, and send us a link in an email with video question in the subject line. And as always, you can visit our forums at revision3.com/forum. Share your thoughts, ideas, or comments with other fans of the show. Thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Till next time, you've been watching Tekzilla.
Pretentious with your GDGT iPod case.
That's Gadget, as in .com, as in the online premier source for gadget lust.
Sing on, Veronica. Here we go. 3, 2.
You can't miss Geek Beak TV. Geek Beak TV.
Squawk.